Jodi, it is Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, it is.
And that's a special day. I gotta say, in my lifetime, I've never heard a more inspirational speaker. It's about respect for me with Martin Luther King. In addition to inspiring millions, he accomplished something, and
he inspired you. I know you've created a whole movement yourself with regard to your passions with something you came up with, an acronym. Do you want to share that now? Should I ask a little bit about that?
I'm already going to start the day with it. I can't say it was because of Martin Luther King. I always wanted to do something about racism. And what's a regular person to do? Should I invite a black family over to have dinner? That wouldn't do anything about racism. But then one day, I was watching a news broadcast and they had skinheads on and they were making audience members cry, and I was like, you know, these people are stupid, learn.
Can't they learn?
Like, learn, what's the matter with you guys, learn. And then I imagine millions of citizens standing beside me screaming, learn, at these people on TV. And I was like, learn what? There has to be something that anyone could say, that if you're really against racism, you'd have no problem saying it. And then it hit me. Learn, let's end all racism now.
I mean, when you first told me about that acronym, I didn't feel all of the power about it, but I said, what a great word, and from a marketing perspective, thinking about it. But then when you start to pull it apart and you start to think about all the things you're trying to do with that, the involvement that you have with the Hempstead Boys and Girls Club, all the different places that you try to take this message, and even through just business on Long Island. I mean, you're doing your own. You've got your dream. You've got your own little dream here. So this is great.
Yeah, so much to vow for it. First off, if you don't know, this is not the Martin Luther King show. This is Hello Long Island. It's about business. It's about community. But we're going to start this part. We're going to stick here with this Martin Luther King learn thing going on, because to me, it wasn't about it was about what America's all about.
Right, and equal opportunities.
Yeah, I was taught in school that this is the one country where people from all over the world come to make a better life for themselves. And that would mean that while racism exists and actually causes the fragmentation to this very day in some ways, it is ending racism that America's all about. So what I did, Jodi, is after I created that, I had a cousin who's an artist, my cousin Joni. And Joni made up this logo for me. I'll show it to you. Can you see that? I hope my camera could see it. Learn, red, white, and blue. So what would it do? This is before the internet. So what would a regular person do? I wrote letters to the schools. I wrote letters to the politicians. I wrote letters to the media. And the media ignored me. That's what actually led me to creating 516 ads and 631ads.com. Because if a black and a white person got into a fight, it would be on the headlines. So 516 ads and 631 ads was like, we're going to create our own media. But instead of spreading negative like the media does, we're going to spread positive. I mean, in this case, it's racism, but you know we want to spread positive on
wherever we go, whatever the message is.
Anyway, I might lose all my viewers. I might lose all my sponsors. But when I wrote that letter, this is what I wrote. You ready? Mm-hmm. I typed it very slowly. When an individual says learn, when an individual says let's end all racism now, that individual is telling other people about themselves. They're telling people that they're a loving person, that they want to end hate. They're telling people that they treat others with respect, that they want to end discrimination. And they're telling people who are racist, people who are ignorant, that they must learn. One individual cannot speak for all people. However, if rabbis and reverends and preachers and ministers tell their congregations believe in what we believe, respect what others believe, people will learn, parents will learn, children will learn, and children remember what they learn. It's not enough to tell our children let's end all racism now. It must be explained. What's learn, mommy? Excuse me. What's learn, mommy? Learn is ending hate. It's important to be a loving, caring person. Learn is ending discrimination. It's important to treat others with respect. Racism is ignorance, and the only way to end ignorance is to learn. Why should we learn, Daddy? Because this is America, and America was made up of millions of citizens from hundreds of different backgrounds and beliefs. And while you may not agree with what others believe, you must respect their right to believe it. This message should be taught in every child's classroom and every child's bedroom over and over again. It's the most important lesson an American citizen will ever learn. Thank you.
You know, Dr. King would be very, very proud of you. That was just amazing. That was just amazing. You're so passionate about this. You just have such a fire, and you know, most people know you from a business platform and don't know how much you care on a human level, how important it is to treat everyone with respect and to teach our children by the things that we do. You know, we set examples every day in the little things that we do, and to not watch that and to not speak the way that we want them to speak to the rest of the world. You know, you're challenging everybody right now. I think it's wonderful.
It's a very individual thing. Man, maybe at the end of the show, if we have time, I wrote a little rap song about it. But I'll tell you this, if there was a fire, we have to call firefighters. If there's a disease, we have to call doctors. When it comes to racism, it's up to the people to spread an opposite to it. And what gets me the most, I gotta say, is the hypocrisy of it. Our leaders and our politicians, they're going to quote Dr. King today, put him in the headlines, praise him and everything. Guys, I'm not telling you to learn. I'm asking you to say, let's end all racism now too. And if I say let's end all racism now, some children I have influence over will learn. If you say let's end all racism now, more people will learn. And the more people say let's end all racism now, man, that would be something special. Because to me, racism's like a dark cloud hovering over society. So it's up to the people to spread an opposite to it. You see, to everything there's an opposite. To love, to hate, to big, there's little. There's no opposite to racism. Ending racism's the opposite to racism. And no matter what the problem's been in our society, the experts always say, well, the way to handle that is through education. The way to handle that is through education. Man, we've taken the most powerful word in education, learn, acquire knowledge. Acquire knowledge of ending racism. And if you could see it, there's a broken heart there. And the reason is, what is racism? You ask a million people, you get a million different opinions, but to me, it's the feeling of a broken heart hovering over society. So the message says, let's end all racism now. Let's end all broken hearts now.
Powerful stuff, David.
Man, I can't imagine that being bad. And last thing on Dr. King before we move on to our great show, if he gives me anything, and I hope he gives it to you too, he gives me courage. He gives me courage to sit here in front of the camera, sit here and possibly face ridicule. It would be easier for me to stay quiet and not bring this up. But that man gave me the courage that I believe this is right. I believe America's supposed to spread an opposite to racism. It's not my job to make you like it, but it is my job, at least within myself, to let you know that it's there. Learn. Let's end all racism now, America. Let's do it here from Long Island. Thank you very much.
Nicely said, David.
Man.
That's a lot. That's a tough act.
Man, how are we going to talk about business after that, Jodi?
Well, you know what? I think when you think about people and you think about goodness and you think about the people that you want to work with, that's why we have great guests on our show. And they're doing this every day in their businesses, and we are delighted to have one with us today.
Yeah, no, we have great guests. We're going to have Sheryl Hecht here. The reason this show could go on today, it's being sponsored by the law offices of Dan Morin, for workers' comp, Social Security, disability, the law offices of Dan Morin. Dan's been a wonderful fan to the Long Island business community, our show, other things that go on.
Networking events.
And we can't do what we do without him. And our guest today, when we do bring her out, man, her name's Sheryl Hecht. Sheryl's a top 1% producer at Douglas Elliman. I know in this business community, we talk about business and we talk about community, and Sheryl just encompasses both. You know, on one end, a successful businesswoman in real estate, which you know that trickle-down effect that real estate has. And of course, man, she's a member of a community. Her and her family grew up here. Her husband works in the school system. That's one thing special about Long Island. It's not like business in the city, big business.
No, we live and work here. We care about everything that we do.
It's all intertwined.
Yep.
But before we get to Sheryl, we have some great stuff to talk about that took place last week. We got a busy networking week or smart business activity coming up this week. First of all, last week, we had events of our own, but I want to give props to our friends at Network USA.
Good job, guys.
Good job, guys. If you're new to this networking stuff in Long Island and you heard about it and you're not sure what it is, man, they had over 400 people at Jewel. 400 people, but it wasn't packed. I go like
room
this.
to move around. There definitely was room to talk. You know, nobody felt overly crowded. They definitely had a great flow. Good job with that.
Yeah, I go like this. I do my little Hulk Hogan impersonation. I go, and I listen for the sound of networking. And the sound of networking was in the air. Tonight, we're going to be at the Jones Beach Hotel for a night in networking. Tomorrow night, Image of Success, Kathy Berger has an event going on at Mio Posto. And man, a lot of smart business activity, a lot of warmth. We talk about web and warmth.
Yeah, web and warmth, formula, yes. You know what, it's funny, all the different people that we run across that are continually committed to these events that bring quality people together. So I know Kathy Berger, I think Butterfly Energy is coming in on one of her.
Butterfly's a sponsor of that event
too. So you know, just people doing great things together and having a chance to learn about each other. So if you can get out this week, I would recommend it highly.
And I hear there's going to be a little bit of snow tomorrow night. I guarantee you this, that will not stop me from getting to the event.
The polar freeze didn't stop you from creating an event or having an event. No,
we had an event.
Like the mailman, no sleet, no hail.
No, we did have an event during the polar vortex. I thought we were just having an event when it was cold, but in today's society, they got to give everything a name. I never knew there was
Put on a coat, you'll be fine.
Put on a polar vortex. I think before we bring on Sheryl Hecht, and man, I can't wait to bring her on, let's use a Dr. King quote. And I know you had some quotes, but I'll start one. Maybe you'll bring one out later.
Okay.
But how's this for a quote? How's this for a business and life quote, guys? If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward.
That's good.
I like that one. Anyway, our first guest, and maybe our only guest, but it's a man. I could stay forever with this woman as far as speaking of. She's just wonderful. Her name is Sheryl Hecht. She's a top 1% producer at Douglas Elliman Real Estate. Our goal here is for our viewers to have the most seamless transaction in buying and selling their home. We're going to get some tips of Sheryl of what to look for in 2014, and we're going to be asking Sheryl what she makes of this Long Island networking world. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sheryl Hecht from Douglas Elliman Real Estate.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, Sheryl.
Good to see you again.
Man, Sheryl, it is nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Many in our networking circles know Sheryl. She belongs to many groups. She runs her own group. What's the name of your Thursday morning group,
Pathways.
Sheryl? Pathways. I write about it every week.
Yes,
You would
you
think
do.
I would know the name. Sheryl, we invite you here because you represent everything we in the Long Island business community like to represent. Successful businesswoman, top 1%. That means if 100 realtors were standing in a room, Sheryl would be considered the best one, the top 1% in that room. And I've spoken so much this morning. Sheryl, what makes you so successful in your field here in Long Island? What's going on?
I think it's just connecting with people. People want to know that you're a human being. They don't want to think that you're just a real estate agent and you don't have their best interest in mind. You really need to connect with people and let them know that you really care about whether they're selling their house. You know, I always think, whether I'm selling somebody's house that's trading up to a bigger house, or if they're a senior getting rid of their last house, this is their vested interest. This is the biggest interest they've had in their life. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think so many people don't take that into account, and there really needs to be a connection. And same thing with people buying. They're not, this is going to be their home. This is where they're going to raise their families, or it's just that connection, and people like to know that you care, and I do care.
It's hard, I think, in the sea of real estate, when you first go out, if you don't have someone that recommends someone highly, and that's what's wonderful about the networking world, because we really do get a chance to meet people before you actually do business with them. Yeah. But how do you then find other people? I'm sure you get a lot from referrals now, because being at the top 1%. But in differentiating yourself, the trust factor. There's a lot of people, and I know a lot of it's a feeling. You can immediately feel your warmth as soon as you meet you. How do you establish that, or is it just you got it or you don't?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just I am who I am. I never put out, I don't pretend to be somebody else for the sake of establishing a relationship. I am who I am. People just, I think they know that. They know that you're not fake.
They can feel the sincerity.
Yeah.
Energy. It's all about energy.
It is all about
decided
energy.
everything in the world's about energy.
Now, in 2014, I feel a great energy in the first few weeks. I do think this is going to be a very positive business year. I mean, where people will notice it, yet it won't affect everyone. It's still up to whether it could be positive for many. There's still people grasping and stuff. What I'm leading to, Sheryl, is you really have not been doing it that long. I believe you were once looking and loved it so much that you actually started almost like followed your passion. What is, and the reason I'm asking this is you as an example for our viewers to learn from. Where'd you start and take us along the way just from where you started to where you are now?
Actually, I got into it because a very good friend of my husband owns a real estate company, and I always read real estate, and I'd talk to him and I'd be like, oh, Nick, did you see such and such a house or this? And he'd be like, how do you not have your real estate license? You know real estate better than half my agents. Like, go get your license. And when I moved to Hauppauge 14 years ago, my kids were both in school. I didn't know anybody, and I thought, what a great time to go back to school and maybe do that. And I got my real estate license, and it was really something that I always enjoyed. I always loved looking at real estate and seeing what was on the market and see what the prices were doing and seeing what people's houses had to offer. And I got right into it, and I got my license actually right around 9/11, pretty memorable. I just, as I say, I got bit by the bug immediately. I, listed my first house. I was very lucky, in a matter of, a week or two after I got my license, and I love meeting people. I mean, listen, I network with you, so I love talking to
Sorry
people.
about that you have to deal with me. I know it's not easy.
It's a rough thing.
We saw the potential right away to jump
and I
into
just
that,
enjoyed it. Like, to get to do something that you really love doing and be passionate about it, and then you get paid for it. So it's...
How do you feel the Long Island, in light of the last storms of the last few years? We've got water communities on the South Shore. North Shore has water properties too. But how do you feel? What's your take on where we are now when you're looking at your home? I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's lost so much value. I'm not going to do anything. Some people are like, no, it's coming back. This is the first time I've gotten very mixed signals from people thinking about buying or selling their home. What's your thought on it?
I think, listen, obviously if you bought at the height of the market, you're still what we call underwater. You still most likely owe more than your present value is worth because the market had gotten so high. But I personally believe that the market has hit the bottom, and I think that, we're on the rise. So a lot of people are selling their house for realistic numbers. I find that in Suffolk County, a lot of the houses, I'll just keep it at, are selling for close to asking price. It's all about pricing. So if you go in and you price a house appropriately, it's going to sell. So, it's all about pricing.
You took my next question away. I was going to.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Preparation and proper planning is the key. It slows down a little after this time of year, but come springtime, people are going to be looking, and they're doing it now. I know you said when someone's looking for a house now, they mean it because.
Well, that was really last month, actually December. I tell all my customers this is the time to sell because everybody thinks spring, and yes, spring market is incredibly busy, but. If you and 3 of your neighbors are all putting your house up in April, May, spring, you're all working against each other. You're all, wanting top dollar for your house, and you all think your house is the best, which is great. But if you list it now, January, February, you're getting a jump on the market. So when everybody else is putting up their house on the market, your house will already be sold. It's supply and demand. So obviously, now when there's less stuff on the market, you have a better chance of selling it quicker at a more realistic price or a price that you'll be happy with.
Do people, I guess I'm always thinking about school years and when people want to put things on, and then you figure, okay, 3 months later and then we'll be in, and then you'll be able to start your next year. So do they have that mindset? Because there is the mindset of nobody buys anything in December, but I do see your point with regard to, okay, well, if nobody's buying anything in December, you want to have this premier house that people can go look at, because if they are real serious buyers, which you want, that they'll be there. But how about that calendar? Is there kind of a mental calendar in people's heads?
I mean, I think we all have that calendar. I think that the interesting thing for me when I came into real estate was finding out that the calendar is not so much what you think it is. Like September, generally, you wouldn't think is very busy. But it's actually the opposite. September for me is one of my busiest months because, you're busy through the spring, and then everybody wants to move over the summer. So July and August, there's not usually a lot of brand new business, but it's a lot of closings and people settling into their new homes. But then September, anybody that wasn't tied to the school year or don't have kids in school of school age, it starts back up again.
One more summer in my house, and then I want to go.
Right, right. And actually, January is very busy because a lot of people get their relocation assignments in January.
Oh, that's interesting. All right,
so I have 2 people right now moving out of state from relocation that, you know, they didn't know in December that it was going to be happening, but come January, then they got their offers and they're ready to go. So January ends up being busy.
Sheryl, you mentioned that it's important to price it right, and it's something you've always told me. That's always been almost like your #1 key, to price it right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there'll be people who they want top dollar right from the get-go. Is there a damage to not pricing it right away, / me not knowing what I'm talking about? The house sitting on the market for 3 or 6 months, does that damage the house when people are looking later, or when it finally comes down to the right price, then everything evens itself out again?
You know what? Sometimes it eventually comes down to the right price and it does even itself out. Unfortunately, some people want their number, and it could be for a multitude of reasons. They may owe that much on their house and they have to get that much money. Unfortunately, you know, people will sometimes say, oh, but I paid $500 for it and I put $200 into it, so I need $700. But if the market is only calling for that house to be worth $600, you know, I always say to people, unfortunately, that part of it's irrelevant.
You're going to have to take the loss to make it move.
But the flip side of that is if you're buying again, you're better off buying a little low, selling a little low, because you're going to end up making it up on the buy end. So it's not a loss. You know, of course, if that's your bottom dollar and you're selling and you're not going someplace else, you're not going to make it up on the other end. But so, you know, we call that chasing the market down, when somebody initially lists the price of their house too high. And then every time they lower it, they're lowering it, but they're still ahead of the market. They're still too high for the market. So you're chasing it downwards.
Not pricing it to sell. So.
Yeah, and does it hurt you? It hurts you, 1, because you waste a lot of time on the market. 2, people are like, oh, I saw that house already. You know, gets a little stale.
Or there's something wrong with it if it hasn't gone in this time.
Correct. That's another thing. People, you know, if you don't put pictures up, you know, we take a lot of pride at Douglas Elliman of having professional photography done for all of our homes, because it really, people shop on the internet. So, you know, if you don't have nice pictures, people say, oh, I don't really want pictures of the inside of my house. I don't want people looking. Most of my buyers discard that property from the start. They just assume that if there's not pictures online, there's a reason. There's something wrong with the house.
You have a very visual buyer then.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sheryl, we have about a minute or 2 left, and I'm told, I know Donna Drake, who's a producer of the show, travels the country. I know others who travel the country, and they say this business networking that we have going on here in Long Island, it's unlike anywhere, you know, that they've seen anywhere else. Fine. My point is this: real estate. You're in the business that all the business trickles down. You're obviously a success. You do things right. There's good and bad in it. What's your take on this, what we call networking, what I like to refer to as all this smart business activity taking place in Long Island? How's it bettered your business, or has it not?
No, it absolutely has bettered my business. I get to meet quality people who really, I find that people that tend to network care about their business, want to build their business, generally are reputable people. Nobody that's doing it haphazardly or, you know, off the cuff is going into and spending time and money doing networking. The people that are out there that are doing it really have passion about their business, and like I said, they're people I want to work with. So my rule of thumb is, unless I've used you personally, I generally don't refer you, because I don't want to refer somebody to a customer and then the customer come back to me and say, they're not happy with them. It's my reputation, absolutely. You know, and you work really hard at it, so you're really careful about the people that you choose to refer to. But I find in the networking world that I've really met some wonderful people.
Make some friends, too.
Absolutely, good friends. And I look forward to networking, and you get to meet new people and you get to see old friends. But it's great. You build a great rapport, and it gives me, I know I've called you on more than one occasion, David, and said, I need somebody that does, you know, A, B, or C.
I love when she does that. I love when she does that. That's what makes us grow.
And if I don't know them, you know them. So there's always somebody to reach out to. So,
you know, in what we build, and I've told you that we've known each other for years now. My story has everything I want to represent.
Thank you.
You know, and you know I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to make you happy. You know, hardworking, caring people.
Great mom.
That do a great job. Great mom. Her daughter has 35,000 followers on Instagram. We're going to have her as a guest, too. Producers, how much time we got left? 1 minute or so? Okay, a few minutes. First of all, Sheryl, thank you for being here. Now, our sponsor, he couldn't make it. He got called into some kind of meeting or anything. But Dan Morin from does a workers' comp and all of that kind of stuff.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, so one day I'm going to introduce you to him. The reason I mention him is this show, all the networking events, everything we do is not possible without the Sheryl Hechts of the world, you know, the Dan Morins of the world, and this Long Island business community that we have going on. Jodi, a minute to go. Martin Luther King Day, igniting business
Wait,
with
can I
Sheryl.
steal one of these pins?
Man, you could steal it, put it on, spread the word.
I love
We're going to
that.
be loud and proud today.
I love that power that you talked about and the passion. And
You want power? Here's power. You see, it makes no difference what race you are. It makes no difference who you are. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Just do it. Speak up and learn. Forget the ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Let's end all racism now. Spread the word. It's the battle for the future, and the future's like, now listen up. We'll show you how. Ready? Speak up and learn. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Let's end all racism now. Spread the word. People come and people go. But learn is a word that you'll always know. Just look around, what do you see? Too much hate and negativity, so use it. Speak up and learn. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Let's end all racism now. Spread the word. Give some thought to this rap that you've heard. Give some thought to spreading the word. Because if you're going to make the world a better place, you got to do it. Speak up and learn. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Let's end all racism now. Spread the word. Igniting business is great. Spreading an opposite to racism. Come on, people. Happy Martin Luther King Day from Hello, Long Island. Goodbye, Long Island.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.